Okay, hello, anyone and everyone who's watching this. This video is going to be talking about some specific breaks from samba to sadagi, but also on my general thoughts about how to play this drum. Okay, so you see I'm not holding it weird like this or like this, just nice and, you know, I like to think my natural hand position is like here, right? Put the drum here. I hold my thumb here and my pinky finger here. And I tend to hold it like this, so it's not quite looking at it like a mirror, but it's sort of like this because I found that I don't. Now, when you play chapado, which means all rim shots, flat, right? This is very loud. So if you're not playing in a huge group, you probably don't need to do that. But I found that instead of playing like this, either here or here, and the only difference is you just do this or here. Okay, so I like to have this angle. It just feels natural to me. And also, anytime you're playing, the stick is doing a glancing blow, right? It's not like that. Here it sounds a little more closed off. But here, open. Okay, so when you're starting to think about this drum, when I go down through the drum, you see I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm also not doing this with my wrist. I'm just going, that's it, just that. Here, and that would look like that. So I'm just literally going like this. If I let my hand drop, I go like that. I'm not doing this. Because look what happens to the wrist. It turns into a teeter-totter. Okay, I'm just going up. All right, so maybe you can practice that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Because you got to realize that every extra motion you do is compounded by the fact that you have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. I'm also not squeezing the stick like this because that changes your hand position. 1, 2, 3. I actually like to try to have the stick be free. Now, when you get faster, your hand closes around the stick naturally. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Or just, and notice, are you trying a lot to be here? And remember, avoid this. Look at yourself in the mirror however you have to, and pay attention. If you're doing this, it ain't gonna work in my book, but your book it might work. You'll have to find out. Okay? This should be restful here. Okay. Then you can start talking about this. Now look, I literally just, just flick up. That's it. Just aim for here. You could do that. And notice again, it's not this. Hear the difference in sound? It's an impulse from there. Okay, so plus if it hits flat, requires more turning and you don't have that time. Notice I'm also not turning just like this, because look what happens to the arm. It gets all twisted. You know, if you could see my arm, it gets all twisted. I tend to do this, so there's a little bit of an opening in the elbow. Exaggerated, that would look like this. You don't have to do this exaggerated, right? But, okay? So, rest, rest. You can't do that if you're playing flat. So you got to get that together. But any extra tension you have is it's gonna divert the stick on a path that you probably don't want. So if I hold my arms tight, you get this. So it really becomes just like this. It's just a motion like that, really small. Yeah, so, okay, good. Now we have that. Then, you know, by learning these 4 notes, you basically don't need anything else. There's versions of 3. Which can all be worked on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. It's actually harder to do that slow. But it all comes back to your ability to go. Right there. Okay. So you can practice that. You can practice any version of that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Making sure at the bottom you're resting. 1, 2, 3. Notice I'm not resting down here. You know, though a lot of people do that and it sounds great. So the thing about this drum is where I really started to learn to play it was in my bedroom. And I was like, how are they doing that? That's always the first step. How are they doing that? This drum has shown me that there's like the technique that mostly gets you through what you got to do is, say, an orchestral percussionist. But then you go here and you're like, oh, wow, my technique on orchestral snare drum doesn't work really for this. And that's why, they're complementary. Things you learn from that translate, they translate back and forth. It's always such a fun discovery process to think, oh, wow, this drum from Brazil really helped me with my blah-de-blah in orchestral percussion, or my drum set playing or whatever. Because, it's all about energy and motion. So, in that way, any drum you learn how to play is going to be complementary. So, okay. Now we can do the carretero. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's good to count at first so you really understand. 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And see at the bottom, try to find that 1, 2, rest, 3, 4. 1, 2. And because you practice this so much, you know that when you come up, you're going to get a dead hit. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's really important to stay loose because I've seen people really tight and they can play for a measure or two, but then they get tired. What happens with tension, especially a lot of tension, is the swing goes away. Because in order for the swing to emerge, you have to be loose. Because that's the thing, is swing is not an intellectual phenomenon. Swing is something that happens when momentum kicks in. And why momentum is important is because, like in the planets, they move with momentum. Think of a pendulum where the relationship with weight, right? Everything has mass, but the weight, the feeling of what's heavy and what's light is relative to motion and position. And so, in my opinion, and this is easier said than done, is when you're loose, this has no momentum. This is just a controlled stroke. Okay? But as you get faster, all of a sudden, you see, now it's important to say that this is the swing that comes out when I do it. But there are so many amazing people with so many amazing swings, and it's a lot of it is based on your physicality and what you hear and who you're playing with and how they're playing. But for me, I can always manipulate that a little bit to fit in with whoever I'm playing with. But it's important just to realize that fact that swing is not, in my opinion, beneficial to say, okay, it's because at that tempo, it doesn't do that for me. It doesn't go button. No, but at that. Okay? So just to reiterate that point, the swing is natural. It's a naturally occurring phenomenon. Therefore, if you just focus on being loose and hitting in the right place and getting a clean sound, as you speed up, as I get faster too, this isn't a controlled thing like this. And again, people do this so many different ways. So this isn't saying this is the right way. This is saying it's a way that seems to work for me. When you think of a bottle of water or something, there's a tipping point where it wants to go here. It doesn't want to stay here anymore. Now here, it'll stay here. But as soon as it starts to go, oh, there it is. And then you get it back, it doesn't take that much energy. So really try to feel the weight. And this is like a clock, right? Falls, because that's how these bones work. This one falls around that one. It's more complicated than that, nuance with that. But in this particular case, I'm not talking about twisting these bones like this. I'm talking about letting this one fall around that one. And that's what opens up the arm. Okay, so you got that. And when you let that happen and it's not controlled, all of a sudden, that's where you get the elliptical. So, slow to fast. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? There's going to be a point where at the bottom, you cannot stop totally, right? You can stop there, but then here, notice, it becomes more of a, not a. And mostly it's because there's not enough time. Okay? All right. So, I feel like we can leave it there for the first lesson on how to start getting this together. But the main points are hold the drum naturally, like this, okay? Or whatever works for you. If I hold up my hand, this is where it goes. Okay? And then you have this here. For me, if I let my hand go, I like this angle right here. And also, know that looks can be deceiving. You might say, oh, you're using this and you're using that, but you don't know me. I don't know you. It might look like I'm doing this and that, but if you focus on being loose and treat it as the progression like a baby, when they first get up and they start to crawl and then they see us walking around and they get up and they fall and they get up and they fall. It's the process of falling and getting up that leads you to be able to do this. So, but if just look at yourself in the mirror and if you see yourself going, in my opinion, it's not going to get you where you need to go because you want to be as free as you can in the body. If you ever feel really tight, you can always, I find, if I lift my arms up like this, get a yawn in, get a nice stretch, maybe tilt back and forth, and just, if your shoulders are tight, the best way to get rid of that, in my opinion, is to move them. So lift them, move them around. You can even lift your shoulders and move your arms around because your shoulders can do all kinds of things independent of your arms. They're not stuck in one way or another. So that has been, let's call this Tamborim class number 1. And then we'll get into some more specific breaks and phrases, which even if you don't play them, it's good to practice. Okay.